Once upon a time, there was a benevolent king in the realm of Sham. His subjects were highly satisfied with his rule. The king had a profound admiration for flowers and greenery and had cultivated an enormous royal orchard within his palace. Every evening after the Maghrib prayer, he would stroll through his garden. One evening, after returning from his garden, the king offered his Isha prayer and retired to bed. In his slumber, he beheld a vision of 4 ethereal beings descending from the heavens. One of them extended her hands, and a golden stalk sprouted from the earth. Then, the second fairy spread her hands, and silver branches emerged from the stem. The third fairy followed, and diamond-studded leaves unfurled on those branches. The king was mesmerized by this breathtaking tree of gold and silver. Suddenly, one of the fairies transformed into an apple, and a bizarre creature alighted on the tree. The creature started devouring the crimson apple. At that very moment, the king awoke, bewildered by this peculiar dream. A longing stirred within him. He wished for such a magnificent tree in his own garden. The king had a venerable sage known for his ability to interpret dreams. The following morning, the king visited him and recounted his vision. The sage pondered for a moment before speaking. "The celestial beings you saw hail from the mystical dominion of Mount Qaf. They are imprisoned by a tyrannical fiend and require your aid." The king immediately assembled his warriors and proclaimed, "Whoever liberates the fairies from the clutches of the demon will be lavishly rewarded." Enticed by wealth, many made the attempt, but all returned in failure. The king had a loyal counselor who stepped forward and requested permission to embark on this quest. The king consented, and the minister set forth toward Mount Qaf. Along the way, he ventured into a dense woodland, where he stumbled upon an unusual man, grievously wounded and writhing in agony. The minister tended to his injuries. Grateful for his kindness, the injured man thanked him and inquired about his journey. The minister explained his mission. The man cautioned, "The demon is incredibly formidable. However, I know of a mystical chant that will grant you the ability to converse with creatures." He imparted the chant to the minister and then departed. As the minister proceeded, he noticed 2 fish struggling outside a pond. One fish pleaded, "O noble traveler, help us. We are perishing." The other fish murmured, "He cannot comprehend our language." But the minister understood them and gently placed them back in the water. In gratitude, the fish blessed him, and he resumed his expedition. A short while later, he heard faint voices. Listening closely, he discerned the queen and instructing her colony to hasten before the approaching human trampled them. With a gentle smile, the minister carefully stepped aside, allowing them to pass unharmed. As he neared Mount Qaf, he spotted a dwarf ensnared in some thorny bushes. The minister freed him, and the dwarf, expressing his gratitude, inquired about his journey. Upon hearing his tale, the dwarf said, "I possess an enchanted cloak. If you wear it, you shall become invisible. This will aid you in confronting the demon." With gratitude, the minister accepted the cloak and pressed onward. Upon reaching Mount Qaf, he beheld a magnificent fortress, vigilantly guarded by 2 monstrous creatures. Donning the cloak, he vanished from sight and slipped past the sentinels undetected. However, the palace was soon thrown into chaos upon sensing an intruder's presence. The towering fiend was enraged. Before the demon could attack, the minister materialized and, in a composed manner, declared that he harbored no ill will. His sole wish was the release of the fairies, and he was willing to offer anything in return. The demon let out a sinister laugh but agreed, setting forth 2 challenges. The minister, unwavering in resolve, accepted. The demon removed a dazzling ring from his finger and flung it into a river, commanding, "Retrieve this ring by dawn." The minister grew anxious, but he remembered the fish he had aided. Summoning them, he relayed his predicament. The fish assured him they would find the ring by sunrise. True to their word, they retrieved the ring from the riverbed and handed it to the minister, who promptly presented it to the demon. Slightly astonished, yet still skeptical, the demon presented another ordeal. He emptied 3 enormous sacks of millet onto the ground, declaring, "By midday tomorrow, all this millet must be returned to the sacks." This task seemed insurmountable, but soon, a legion of ants arrived, swiftly gathering every grain and refilling the sacks by noon. The demon was dumbfounded. The minister, standing firm, announced, "I have fulfilled your demands. Now, release the fairies." But the demon let out a mocking laugh and sneered, "You humans are so naive. I deceived you. I have no intention of granting their freedom." Fury ignited within the minister. Without hesitation, he swiftly donned the cloak, unsheathed his dagger, and drove it into the demon's chest. The fiend let out a harrowing shriek before collapsing lifelessly. The minister hurried to the dungeon and released the fairies. Overjoyed, they lifted him into the air and soared back to the king's palace. As a token of their appreciation, they conjured the very tree the king had envisioned in his dream, adorning his royal garden with its splendor. The king, honoring his promise, rewarded the minister generously, granting him vast lands and treasures. The fairies, now freed, bid their farewells and joyfully returned to their enchanted homeland.